On this episode of A Skin Depth Convo, it's beauty around the world with our first stop, Australia. Natasha Shalfoon from Dermal Supplies Australia joins the ladies to talk about the top trends in the land down under, how they handle their most prominent skin conditions, and more. Plus, we'll discuss the latest in skincare industry news, like being cautious of TikTok beauty trends, and a service that is finally allowed in California. Welcome to A Skin Depth Convo. I'm Anna Kagarakis. This is a show focused on educating and inspiring all those in the skincare and beauty industry. But it is also a show for those looking for ways to improve themselves from the inside out. Or maybe you're looking to further your beauty education with a little entertainment and a great conversation along the way. And we have plenty of that thanks to our two expert hosts, part of the founders of Lyra Clinical, Metaxia Delikis and Francine Kagarakis. We have a lot to talk about today, but first, in just a little bit, we're bringing on Natasha Shalfoon from Dermal Supplies Australia. So we're making our first stop in our Beauty Around the World series. But before we head to the land down under, let's see what's new in skincare and the beauty industry in news. So effective January 1st, 2022, dermaplaning is within the scope of practice for both estheticians and cosmetologists in California. Licensees should ensure they are fully trained prior to performing these services to ensure the safety of the consumer. Now, what's dermaplaning? Well, it's a procedure that exfoliates your skin, gets rid of dirt and vellus hair, or better known as peach fuzz. It's different though from dermabrasion, whereas an esthetician or doctor uses high-speed rotating brush to exfoliate the skin. With dermaplaning, they use a scalpel or a tool called a dermatome. Now, they're saying, so dermaplaning involves, gently pulling a blade along your skin. Is that essentially similar to shaving your face?
Well, I have to say, it's about time that we've opened that scope of practice for the esthetician cosmetologist market. I think it's important to get well educated. There's safety issues, but it's important to understand that it is a device that uses a single blade that goes at a 45-degree angle and is going after the vellus hair, but in turn takes off some of that stratum corneum and refines it, and it gives you that nice clean surface so that your products that you put on your skin or your makeup or application has a beautiful smooth texture. But we find that it is a modality that a lot of people are using outside of California, so the fact that we are definitely starting to offer it in California is a win situation for the estheticians and cosmetologists.
It is about time, that is for sure, because a lot of our estheticians, they're very well trained, and this is something they needed to get approved so they're able to do this treatment. As Metaxia is saying, not only does it get rid of the vellus hair, but it actually perfects the skin and gives you a beautiful exfoliation when a professional does it.
Well, I will say, everybody in California, keep that in mind when it comes to TikTok beauty trends as well. So one woman has actually come out and warned against what they're calling a viral face shaving hack. So this TikTok user and beauty fan named Natalie, she tries different hair and beauty products out and shows her followers all the results. Well, after learning about dermaplaning, she explained that she got curious and thought, hey, why don't I just shave my face? Unfortunately, it didn't work for her. Her skin at first looked like it was glowing and amazing, but then all hell broke loose. She broke out and said that it was bumpy, painful, and hot. So now knowing all this and knowing how dermaplaning works, what happened? What went wrong?
I think the fact that there's multiple things that could go wrong. Using a dirty shaver. Some people think that, you could use it over and over again. You cannot. Using a blade usually comes in a sterile container, so it's not used.
And how aggressive. It depends on how she did it, too, and the angle. Dry, wet application.
Going over acne, opening up an acne lesion and causing the bacteria to be spread, that's also a concern. I could tell you what happens is that you could go too deep, and then all of a sudden cause the skin to be so thin and refined that anything would actually cause an irritation, which could cause a breakout. It's not like shaving, but there definitely should be the proper education to support this procedure.
Which makes sense why California now is saying it's okay for cosmetologists and estheticians to do it, but they have to also follow certain protocols.
What did she put on when she was done?
Yeah.
They like to put something on that is actually anti-inflammatory, calming it down, making sure the skin is taken care of, not just slap on something that's very active.
Okay, well, good news. Natalie also managed to get her skin back to its natural clear state after several skin treatments. But the moral of the story, again, don't just follow a beauty hack on TikTok. Make sure you talk to your skincare professional. But coming up, we head to the land down under with Natasha Shalfoon from Dermal Supplies Australia. But first, a word from Lyra Clinical.
Lyra Clinical takes today's skincare to the next level. Using cutting-edge technology and the best high-quality ingredients, Lyra gives you brighter, healthier, younger-looking skin. With award-winning products, advanced education, and innovative skincare philosophies, Lyra Clinical is redefining aesthetics and offering superior products and treatments that produce remarkable results. It's beauty from the inside out. Be bright, be beautiful, Lyra Clinical.
Australia may be the land down under, but Australia and New Zealand are on the top of what's hot in the skincare industry. And it's our first stop in beauty around the world. And here to join us is Natasha Shalfoon from Dermal Supplies Australia. Thank you so much for coming all the way from Australia.
Thanks, guys. It's been a long time. It's been a good 2 years. Normally we come every couple of months to see Lyra and get all the latest and greatest information and what's happening. So we're really excited to be here. I don't want to go home.
I'm so happy to have you here, Natasha. It's great. The only thing is that we have to make sure that we get you some great coffee, because when we're in Australia, we have to match that great coffee.
And I have to say, I'm really excited that you're here. We miss you guys. Australia is such a wonderful country, very wonderful people there. And we're just excited that you're here because you always inspire us to do more.
And I got to say also, too, this is normally your guys' summer right now. We're in our winter, but you got lucky here in California. You got some nice weather here.
It's beautiful. Yeah, the last couple of days have been really beautiful.
Well, we're happy to have you here. And again, you're from Dermal Supplies Australia. What is Dermal Supplies Australia and what makes it unique?
So Dermal Supplies Australia is where we are a very boutique distributors of skincare. We want to bring the latest and greatest in terms of technology to the Australian market. And I think we've been really able to do that with especially Lyra Clinical. I think Lyra Clinical has been catapulted based on technology and the differences. In the Lyra world, we don't use the same stock standard ingredients that have been really prevalent in the Australian market.
Well, let me ask you, what got you into skincare?
Do you know what? I don't actually know, but as a really young girl, I loved anything beauty. I mean, anything. And we used to have a really, really, really big kitchen, and all the family would come together on a Sunday. And there's a big age gap between me and my family. And I used to sit everyone on the kitchen bench and do their makeup and look after their skin. I mean, I'm talking really young. And I just said to my mum, I don't want to go to university. I want to do skin. Well, I want to do beauty back then. And a lot has changed in the last 20 years since I've done beauty. And now we really focus on skin correction. Back in the old days, it was very much beauty and really hard peels and really aggressive lasers with no preparation.
Well, she's really modest. We've learned a lot from Natasha. She is truly a professional. Whatever she does, how she teaches her classes. We've been to Australia a few times, and they follow her. They believe in her. Her inspiration is really deep from the heart. I have to tell you that. People look up and admire you. You actually believe and preach what you do. You're part of this beauty industry in Australia.
You've impressed us quite a bit. And when we were there, we were very impressed with all of your clients. Very, very knowledgeable. Obviously do a great job with education in Australia. And all of these clients really knew how to correct skin, and they understood it, and they understood especially hyperpigmentation. And that also brings me to, what are the most problematic skin issues and conditions that you are dealing with in Australia?
Well, definitely hyperpigmentation, melasma. It's pretty prevalent. We all know it can be extremely hard to treat. When we brought Lyra on as such, Prolight was a bit of a game changer in the Australian market to really treat epidermal, dermal melasma, hyperpigmentation. So definitely pigment is huge. Perioral dermatitis and rosacea, and then acne. So those three together, really, there's not one standout. They're pretty equal in terms of the top skin conditions that we treat.
That's true because of Prolight. One thing that we do like to talk about, not only is it actually helping with managing melanin, it's also the anti-inflammatory, which is so huge nowadays because more and more people are looking to take care of inflammation that causes more sporadic melanin.
Correct. And in our market in Australia, a lot of companies have high AHAs with depigmenting ingredients, or some ingredients that sometimes aren't that friendly to the melanocyte. And this was one of the first products that really didn't have those key foundations. It had all the anti-inflammatories, all the tyrosine inhibitors, and very, very respectful to the melanocyte.
I'm just curious, what are some of the more popular skin treatments and products people are looking for in Australia and New Zealand?
Well, I think there is was a lot of focus on skin needling and probably laser treatments. But I feel like just over the last couple of years, we've really had to change now how we treat skin. So I am going to say green power is a popular treatment that we get a lot of calls for. So I think people are looking for treatments that are not always peel based, because typically green power is not a peel as such. There's no acids in it. So I feel like the Australian market is actually really looking for elevated components that are not just skin needling anymore, or lasers and things like that, or hard aggressive peels. I mean, one of the most attractive things about the smart peels is that it's literally that, a smart peel. Instant correction, minimal inflammation, beautiful hydration. I think sometimes the sophistication hasn't really been there, and people are being used to aggressive components, and we just don't treat like that. I mean, we get a lot of beef from competitors, I'm going to say that, about, oh, you can't peel because it's so aggressive. And it's like, but not in our world, understand our philosophy. So I think people, and I do know people are trying to search for components like that, but no one can really touch what we do.
Key things, smart peels. It's, we talked about inflammation. The whole idea of a smart peel is to limit inflammation and give you the options to do more of them, not just for corrective, but just for preventative.
Yep, 100% agree. So we are definitely seeing a move towards it. And like I say, if we get any inquiries, it's all about the green power.
Well, they're excited to go back to nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what part of Lyra does. It gives us the best of science and nature together.
Oh, I love that too. And, but one of the things I've noticed also, say, like, social media has been a big part of the beauty industry as a whole right now. And especially here in America, how is it in comparison to Australia, New Zealand, that area?
Well, I mean, social media, I think, once again, way back was part of a connection point that people would be able to connect the dots together and then find, okay, this would be the next component. But I feel like there's a big shift. I feel like there's been such a targeted component with influencers. And I feel like influencers are really losing their traction, because now we're really aware that they're kind of paid, and it's probably not coming from the heart. And did they really get that result? So I feel like there's a big change in that component. And I don't know if it's also got to do with the last couple of years. Some people are switching off from stimulants of technology and things like that as well. So I'm also finding that there's a really big approach to holistic components. And I don't know if social media has the pull that it used to. It might do. Way back, it used to be social media, you get traction. And you've got to work harder for the dollar to get the traction. Yeah.
You definitely have to work harder for the dollar when it comes to social media. And the holistic stuff is really interesting that you bring that up, because Elle Magazine in Australia just brought up the top skincare trends for 2022 in Australia. This is one of those we'll get into there, but let's go through a few of them right now. First up, we have skin barrier protection. Consumers are more familiar with active ingredients, but there's little guidance on how to use them, leaving many with, you've guessed it, you've got damaged skin barriers, you're thinking dryness, flaking, red skin. That makes it harder to tolerate beneficial skincare products. Now this year, barrier repair, soothing ingredients, and lower doses will be a must-have. So these products aim on keeping the good stuff like moisture in, also getting the bad bacteria out. So you're opting for ingredients that replicate what's in your skin's natural barriers, such as ceramides and fatty acids. So how important is skin barrier protection, especially in your region?
It's so important, and I think it's an old-fashioned philosophy that's making a trend again. For us in dermal supplies, and definitely with Lyra, especially when we talk about smart peeling, it's all about barrier first. You can't perform certain things without the respect and decreasing the inflammation in the skin before you can be progressive. So skin barrier, yes, we are hearing a lot of talk about skin barrier, and sometimes we kind of laugh because that's what we've been preaching for definitely the last 5 years since we've had Lyra. But it's an oldie, but it's a goodie, and it will really steer you in a direction where you need to go if you look after the skin barrier. Right. However, in saying that, not all skin barrier products or ingredients like ceramides and maybe hyaluronic acid are equal. So it's making sure that you have a cosmeceutical form of that. Otherwise, once again, you can take a claim and it not actually work on the barrier.
Well, you're diluted. You're exactly right. Ingredients can be diluted, and they say they have the ingredient in there, but cosmeceuticals are different because they're more concentrated and the grade of the ingredients much higher. So you're going to get the results that you're talking about, Natasha. So it's very, very important to know your product and the ingredients, and especially where it's sourced.
Yeah, and also going back to, one of the game-changing components that we have with Lyra as well is our delivery systems. Not all delivery systems are equal. So if you don't have a great delivery system, you're going to create issues with your barrier and more inflammatory.
Well, speaking of anti-inflammatory skincare is what's next. Inflammation is a top concern for some complexions. Enter anti-inflammatory skincare. So nowadays, more and more people understand how inflammation can actually trigger issues with our overall health and cause skin dysfunctions. With anti-inflammatory products, we're saying goodbye to popular ingredients like retin A and acid peels, and moving further towards skincare products that actually nurture our complexion. So are you seeing more people, are you seeing that a lot more now?
100%. And I think, once again, skin barrier and anti-inflammatory, they go hand in hand. You've got to make sure you've got the right ingredients. I know that in our world of Lyra, we've got some really elevated components happening. They're allowing us to elevate skin correction, minimize anti-inflammatory in the skin, and really create more hydration. So it is definitely a trend. Once again, an old trend that's making the forefront again. I think in the world of Lyra, we've been really privileged to have this as part of the philosophy from day one, and we have honestly been able to create so much phenomenal skin changes in a really simplistic component.
Well, I'm going to have Fran take on the Retinol Plus, and I'm going to take on the Smart Peel. So
she
Fran.
needs to. I think she's in her seat. You're moving around a bit, and she's a little antsy because as soon as you said the word acids, I think she started moving around. So go ahead with the acids, and I'll take on retin A.
She said something really important. Inflammation is where we're not trying to incur. But peels were always considered to be inflammatory, where all of a sudden you would get a peel and you would have a downtime, sometimes 7 to 14 days. That has changed. Our Smart Peels are designed with all the ingredients within a peel to deliver, so they are actually healing right away once they're absorbed into the epidermis. Right. So we have the advantage. In the past, we would actually peel and pray that we wouldn't have hyper and hypopigmentation. We're not praying. We're seeing results. Every one of the Smart Peels will give you instant results. Have your skin become more glowy, brighter, and you feel that result right away. You're not waiting for days. And our peels are designed purposely for that, less inflammation and the brightening effect, which is really important, which we could do peels on any Fitzpatrick type, on any age group. So I think our Smart Peels are designed like no other peels in the market.
You have to also bring up the fact that we use colloidal silver and gold in a few of our peels. One of the big standards are Jesner.
Yes.
And the fact that we put in colloidal silver and gold is huge. So again, we understand that you have to calm down that inflammation. Get in there, do what you need to do, and make sure you calm the skin down as soon as possible. That philosophy also became important because retin A is or was a fantastic product in the 80s for acne that went to anti-age and all of that, but it caused a lot of inflammation, and we call it, it's actually aging the skin a little more. So we are very excited to know that we can't get the benefits that vitamin A is able to deliver, but instead of retin A or retinol, we actually have something called retinaldehyde that is now able to be stabilized with hydroxysomes. So we are able to deliver with a calcium delivery, and we're able to bring in retinaldehyde stabilized in the skin to brighten and tighten the skin. So there is technology now to take over all the old ingredients from the past.
And the key thing that she said is that it has a time-release delivery. It's the dosage that's really important, and the depth within the epidermis. And what Natasha said is that's what makes it so advanced. With the latest technology, we can dose it within a 24-hour period and cause that skin to respond without that lingering inflammation and aging component of retinol.
I think I need to ask Natasha, how do you like the Pro Retinol Plus?
Well, I'm actually obsessed, and you can see the messages to my team every night when I put it on. They'll get a WhatsApp message going, I'm so obsessed with this product. I mean, for me personally, the hydration was next level. No irritation, not that I typically get irritated from retinol anyway, but just I actually saw lightening in my skin as well. It really, really quickly. So I think for us, even as a company, when you talk about what is dermal supplies, we have so much faith in what you do because you always elevate, right? And this is a true representation of elevation, of using retinol, resuscitating the skin.
Adenosine, yes. Our great old adenosine hydroxysomed up too.
Well, there's three deliveries, Fran. You forgot to say the other
No,
two.
I know. Resveratrol is one, so your potent antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. Adenosine, which actually charges up those cells. So remember, we're using it for cardiac patients to bring that heart back. We're also stimulating the cells to make sure they're stimulated and turn over even faster. And of course, retinaldehyde. And all three of these are hydroxysome delivery, which brings also calcium back into the skin and hydration.
Well, the chemist, when we had the previous podcast, the chemist said that she has not met any other brand that would take the three components like that and deliver them in one a product. Usually a product has a hero ingredient. We have 3 hero ingredients,
Right.
which is really special.
We got approval from Natasha. That's a big thing.
That's a huge thing.
And her
right?
skin looks really nice.
Seriously.
If you've been traveling, Natasha, it does not show. Your skin
No.
looks beautiful.
I have to say, I even looked in the mirror today and I thought, oh, my skin's really held up because we've had so many flights. It hasn't been as easy to get here as typically what it can be with all the restrictions and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I would say also too that preparation from the new retinol coming out. But yeah, I am literally obsessed, and no word of a lie, the team can vouch for that as well.
That's great.
Well, let's go switch to a different way to reduce inflammation. That's fermented skincare. So that's another trend that they had mentioned was fermented skincare. Fermented ingredients are going to be a hot commodity because of the endless benefits they offer your skin. In recent studies, fermentation has been linked to a handful of anti-aging benefits, such as reducing inflammation that we've been talking about. And it also uses a natural process to help enhance potency and penetration without irritation. So what are some examples of fermented skincare that you've seen worked, or have you seen been popular in Australia?
Lyra?
Yes.
Sorry. It's really interesting because when we look at these questions that you're saying from our magazine, this is Lyra. Everything in here is literally what Lyra's been doing. So probiotics was probably something new when we started working with Lyra that no one else really had in our market space. Sure, there's probably been things popped up, but we have different forms. We don't just have one component of a probiotic or a fermented component in skincare. We have multiples, of course. And why wouldn't be? Because that's what Lyra does.
And what we find right now, fermented is the key word because balancing the microbiome, that's a word that we throw out there every so often. But again, we go back to skin barrier protection. When the skin's balanced, the barrier protection is in balance and the skin is healthy. So it becomes very important that probiotics work wonderfully to balance the skin. So the microbiome is very important to use different forms of probiotics. Mm-hmm. The first one is fermented, like our pumpkin peel. You know how we love to do the pumpkin probiotic peel, but we also have olive leaf and radish probiotics in the line. But there's something special that we have in the acne line. And as you were saying earlier, in our delivery system, we have a healing peptide delivery system in our acne line, but we also have cultured probiotics that actually help with bacteria. So it's very important to understand your probiotics and use them as needed on the skin.
Another key thing, Ben, is to your point that there is fermented skincare, but once again, some of the fermented skincare that's on the market is actually causing more irritation because synergistically it's not put together correctly. So, all the buzzwords and so forth that are out there, it's once again making sure that you just don't go to the influencer or you just don't jump onto the latest and greatest. Do a lot of your own research. Go on to the different social media pages and have a look at all the before and afters and the skin correction, and don't mix skincare brands.
Yep.
I have to
Makes
say the influencers we definitely see a difference in influencers. Basically, it's your proven fact. And if you look at their Instagram, you'll see the before and afters. And they're not bought. They're not followers that are bought. They're true followers that when you follow, you're learning, you're sharing information. And that's what she's talking about. It's real. It's not fake. It's not bought. It's earned. And that's what's really important. And Lyra wants to earn the respect and the results, not just buy them.
And we thank Australia and New Zealand for all of those
Yes.
before and afters. We are so impressed and we are resharing them as much as we can, but they are doing such a great job.
Didn't you have an award? In fact, you had an award for the best before and afters.
Yeah, Lyra Clinical Therapist of the Year.
Yes.
And really it's about a journey, and it's interesting because these top skincare trends, that's what we do.
Yes.
We work on the barrier first. We decrease the inflammatory loading in the skin. We work with the fermented components in the skin, especially when we talk about P. acnes, which is completely debilitating for people when we've had years and years of acne. But time and time again, when we go back to these fundamentals, we literally change skin, and very, very quickly. Not only is that really important to change clients' skins, but also change the way they feel about themselves. But I'm also trying to help my clients with a competitive space. And really create the fundamentals so they also have more growth in their business organically. And that is really important. And these are what we do.
I love it.
We have great pictures. I have to say that we are so very proud of them, and seeing the results are phenomenal.
Well, we could definitely check those all out on all the social media pages. So we'll make sure to post that up towards the end of the show and let you know where to find it all. But let's talk about something that I'm really excited about. I had just learned about this, and I know you're really excited to talk about this, Natasha, is LED light therapy. So LED light therapy is built to stimulate collagen production and kill bacteria that causes breakouts. It's that stormtrooper-esque headgear before you apply skincare. And of course, you have serums, creams, and exfoliation should still be part of your routine afterwards, but that's done again post-mask. Can you talk about the light therapy? Because this is really interesting. I've never done this personally. Just talk about what you know about it.
Yeah, so I love light therapy. Anyone in Australia will tell you that I love it. I think what it really does in the skin, it really enhances your skincare and your other treatments, not just specifically peels, but anything from skin needling. What we saw a while ago was just an add-on component with LED, and that really isn't the intention of LED. LED is designed like a series of peels. You need to do so much within a week to really get the ultimate skin correction and what we call ATP, which is kind of like all the blood, oxygen, and nutrients in the skin. So it's like the internal fundamentals of what we talk about skin barrier. It's an internal component. It makes everything else function better. And that really isn't designed to do after a treatment. It's what we call the pre-toxing, which I learned pre-toxing from you two. And really, once again, it's about that integrity piece. And so to a component where I also created and have created a brand called True Dermal, literally to help, once again, grow people's businesses, but also we live in a different world now over the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So it's a respectful part to the integrity of the skin to elevate the results of home care and also professional treatments. And we talk about pigment, we talk about acne, and we talk about perioral dermatitis and rosacea, and they're really prevalent for us. And so it's a support system because LED's intention is, to kind of do at least 3 a week over 3 weeks. And that's not everyone can do that. We're a little bit time poor and, the environment's slightly changed. So big fan of LED. Once again, any of my Australian clients and my team in New Zealand, we talk about, okay, let's do LED first. And if we're not going to do that, then make sure you do it after if you're doing a series of peels, because it is truly phenomenal. I think we've lost our way a little bit on how to really use LED properly. And I think when we're talking about manufacturers' claims, you can make a claim to whatever you want. That's why L'Oreal can say that they've got retinol in their products and make the manufacturer's claims. It's the same with LED. Not all manufacturers are equal. So it's making sure that you do your research again. And that's why we love Lyra, because of all the trials. Every single time we do something new, it is honestly more than our expectation, and that's the same with LED. So we love LED for what it can do to maybe sometimes where the skin products can't get to. So it's a win-win. It's holding every other component's hand to get you elevation.
Is there anything special in the color of the lights?
So, in your creation.
In my creation. Well, once again, we've noticed a big trend of minimizing. And so we wanted to make sure that we had all of them together. So we will have one of the first take-home masks that have red, near-infrared for aging inflammatory. And then we also have blue and near-infrared for acne and aging, because it's a real thing, right. And also for acne and inflammatory. So it will be that I'm aware of in the professional arena that it has all 3 spectrums on one mask, as opposed to having to buy one for acne, one for aging, etc., etc. So we don't
make sense.
But I'll be honest with you, what she's done is a smart LED.
Yeah.
How we have actually formulated peels to have multiple benefits. She's actually formulated an LED device that has multiple light benefits, which I really think is really good.
Multifunctional is the word.
Multifunctional, like Lyra, multifunctional, and being relevant to what's going on as well. So, we listen all the time to feedback, and feedback's really important to help drive through the next components that we always want to do.
Well, now, one thing you also brought up earlier was how things have changed in the world. And one, obviously, with COVID-19, it's completely changed things and how we see ourselves and beauty as a whole. And there's no denying that the excess makeup and the 25-step skincare routines have taken a bit of a step back right now. So it's all about hybrids. One example is where you have skincare and makeup meet, making the process more time efficient and effective as possible. This also reduces the environmental footprint, saves money as well. And the biggest winner of the trend has been complexion products infused with SPF protection and additional skincare benefits. Are you seeing more of those?
100% we are seeing that. Yeah, definitely. People want simplicity, and I think they do. They're really, really more aware of carbon footprint, minimalistic components, and Lyra does have that. I mean, I know I keep being so reflective back to Lyra, but Lyra has so much to offer. So when you're asking me questions as well, I just feel that it's all relevant to Lyra.
Right. Now, before we go, we have to hit up one more trend, what I found really interesting. So we all know what K-beauty is. That's Korean beauty, but now we're going to talk about our beauty. So in 2022, our attention is headed more north for our beauty, which is also known as Russian beauty. The cold country contains a rich and storied history with skincare, with Russian women traditionally relying on all natural ingredients and home remedies to tend to their complexion. So think things like buckwheat, Siberian herbs, plant extracts like nettle sage, burdock, calendula, echinacea, and sage. Now they complement natural ingredients and they serve a specific purpose. For example, corn flour is also commonly used under the eye as it is a botanical known for depuffing and hydrating properties. Are we seeing more our beauty around the globe now? Is that something that's you're seeing something similar to that?
Yeah, when we're talking about natural components, absolutely. We're seeing a lot more awareness. Once again, I have to be reflective to Lyra because we've been doing science and nature together for a long, long time. So all of these beautiful ingredients that you talk about, we have it, but in a really sophisticated way. Once again, not so much just about getting an ingredient. You've got to make sure synergistically it all works together, that every ingredient holds each other's hands. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Probably another really good reason why you have to go back to your skin specialist and really have a one-on-one detailed conversation with them. But yep, absolutely, we are seeing more things with clean beauty, a lot more understanding of wellness and what that does, what that really means. We've been doing, you guys have been doing, when that science and nature components come together, and we have it in our smart peels, we have it in our home care. I mean, the one thing about Lyra is it's multifaceted. There's lots of things in one product.
Going back to basics is very important because this is where it all began. Science discovering nature's secrets, as you were saying, is the key. Science understands what nature has to offer, and we're able to deliver it. Extracts are very, very important, and putting the formulation together is very important. But understanding how science works together with nature, we're able to actually mimic certain things, so we put the two together. It's very important to understand extracts are very, very important. Technology delivering them to the skin is also as important.
Now, before we go, though, I do have to ask you this. So what is considered beautiful in Australia? What would you call your AUS beauty?
Well, AUS beauty is barrier. Glow, gloss, hydration, flawlessness, where you feel like you can leave the house with no makeup on. It's a big trend, but it's also been there for a long time. I think also too because we deal with so much pigment, everyone wants to have a flawless skin. So clean, highly efficacious beauty and just that beautiful glow in the skin, and that comes back to that barrier.
I have to agree. I think it's simple. The steps should be simple. Minimize the products to more of a less product with better formulations. I think that's really important. But you should always be glowing. You should always be prepared for the environmental conditions. The product should be working on a daily basis. That's why home care has become such an important part of our skincare. And I think treatments at home, like you said, the LED treatments and multiple treatments that your professional will help you, coach you through. Having a good skin therapist is really key, because the skin therapist, like Natasha is doing, is updating and giving that information and keeping them current. And that's why I think your success in Australia and New Zealand is because you are not settled in anything. You're constantly looking for something new and better, and you bring information to us. We work as a team. Lyra's success is being a team player. Natasha and Dermal Supplies is so essential to our success because we talk as a team and we are growing as a team.
I think they know how important it is to brighten the skin. And that's one of the key things, to understand how to do it, how to correctly exfoliate with not too much inflammation, how to make sure to manage melanin and put back into the skin. It's very important to hydrate, make sure that barrier is protected and healthy at all times, and making sure that happiness and brightness comes from the inside out.
I'm going to say you are the perfect model for AUS Beauty. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank
She sure
you.
is.
Totally.
Thank you. It's all Lyra.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Inside and out, you have it both.
We'll get some
thanks,
credit, but
guys.
she's a very good person inside and out. I have to agree with Francine. We're very, very fortunate to have such a wonderful representation of Lyra.
And we're very proud to say how well they're doing in Australia and New Zealand. And we are so excited to have such great partners in that part of the world. Thank you.
We are too. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Natasha.
Thank you.
A big thank you again to Natasha for joining us today. Really fun episode. Now, we did get a question that I want to address from Kish. She wanted to ask, what Lyra products does steam seem to enhance?
Oh, the word steam is a word that we don't use quite a bit.
I think steam was something that was associated with a facial. And people would want to have steam because they felt they were getting a really good facial. It brought up heat. It brought up erythema. So it was a way to stimulate the skin, but we find that heat is also not what we want to recommend. I think keeping the skin more firm and keeping it cold, like the cold therapy is a little bit more popular right now.
Cold treatment tightens the skin, whereas heat breaks down collagen and elastin. So with steam, if you do it over and over again, you're going to actually break down collagen and elastin. The only thing I've noticed is that steam helps with extractions. And what you find is that it works best with extractions. But in the old days, what a lot of people did is they put the steam right in the face. And so the steam would put a lot more heat on the skin. We don't want that. We don't need that type of erythema. If we're looking for erythema, we'll use a product that has a little more activity instead of steam.
There was a myth that by using steam, you could open and close a pore. You cannot.
Oh.
What it's doing is just softening the debris, so it's easy to remove when you're doing your extractions.
Pores are not muscle.
Pores, yeah.
They don't open and close as we used to believe. It's just, as Metaxia is saying, we extract the debris.
And I think it's important to know that steam brings up erythema. If you're doing, for example, a peel, or if you're doing something that's going to have the skin a little bit more alerted or alarmed, that could also be an additional threat. So steam is good, and we're not recommending it through Lyra, but if you're using steam, be really cautious because it does bring on the alarm to the epidermis. Like all of a sudden that erythema comes up, and you should be aware that it is sensitive, and when applying something else to the skin can have an additional risk.
And it's better to finish off a treatment with cooler and cold towels. The skin is much more firmer and tighten it just a bit. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for hydrated, tighter skin.
This is kind of along the lines, but I always think of, in the cold winter months when you take a hot shower, I've noticed that my skin tends to dry up a little bit faster. It's a little more red and irritated because the water is obviously a lot hotter. So definitely, cooler water is probably better for the skin too, right?
Yes. One of the things that they did in Hollywood years ago is right before they would put their makeup on, they'd put ice on their face.
Well, we had a Russian esthetician that had the old school mentality as far as skincare, and she would actually use ice cubes every day before she would put on her makeup or address her skin needs, because she wanted her skin to be tighter. And it was like a daily thing that she would do. And then all of a sudden they would take the ice cubes and put in chamomile or other ingredients to make the ice cube a little bit more beneficial, and they would actually use that as a prep before applying their products. So I think cold is more beneficial than hot, and we prefer to go the cold direction versus the hot direction.
And if you're going to use a warm towel before an extraction, just don't leave it on too long.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a little of that R Beauty treatment that we talked about right there. So that's another one we could add to the R Beauty. That's it. But thank you again both so much for another amazing and informative show. And thank you for all your questions. And keep sending them in. You can send in your questions to a Skin Depth Convo at Lyra Clinical. That's Skin Depth Convo at lyraclinical.com. And make sure to follow us on Twitter. Get involved in the conversation on Facebook. And thank you again for listening to the show. That'll do it for us today. For all of us at a Skin Depth Convo, I'm Anna Kagarakis. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.